Welcome to Coach SG and Friends, where we discuss topics that help you have a better relationship with yourself and others. I am Coach SG, otherwise known as your joyful friend. I'm a relationship coach and life mentor, an entrepreneur and speaker. I'm based out of Los Angeles, but originally from Brooklyn, New York. I love great music, deep conversations, and inspiring people to live their best emotional lives and create their most amazing love story. Let me introduce you to my two friends, Janessa Rose and Lisa Miranda. Janessa is the CEO of Motivational Monsters, a nonprofit that helps people activate mental health and emotional well-being through creative arts. She is the author of How to Stop Being an Effing Bum. BUM stands for Broken Urban Mentality. She's been dubbed the Tony Robbins / Cardi B of motivational speakers, and she calls herself the Galactic Goddess. Lisa Miranda is an actor and creative director. She's also dabbling in producing. She is based in Miami, New York, and Paris. She is a world traveler who speaks several languages, who loves life, good people, and good conversation. So we want to welcome you to our podcast. Let's get started. All right, ladies, welcome back. So we are going to be talking today about how to access your magic.
Welcome to part 2 of How to Access Your Magic. Listen to part 1 if you have not already done so. Grab a hat and get comfy because we are all wearing hats today. We left off with Lisa saying, be careful about using the word ritual because it may have a negative connotation. All right, let's get started. Take a listen.
So how do you express your magic?
For me, I go into ritual ceremony and I hold space.
But I think a lot of that word ritual really frightens people because they think, what does that mean? Is that something for or against my religion? What does that mean if I'm not spiritual?
This is the thing, right? I'm glad you said that. All right, I gotta go in real quick, y'all. Let me just do this.
Okay. Sit back and get ready.
Wait. She got the hat ready.
Yeah.
Hats on TV, okay? We get great. If you're listening, go get a hat and come back. Okay?
That's right. Well, wait.
Got a hat. Now let me. But all right, ritual and the fear of the word ritual means, in my opinion, that you don't know who you are yet. You don't know magic yet. You haven't tapped into it. You're still living in a fearful place where the concepts and the words and the way you correlate them are stemmed from your own personal stigmas and traumas that you've yet to work out. That's just the truth of the matter, and the best way I could say it without judging people. Everybody has their right to believe whatever they want. Ritual does not necessarily mean religious or against. And like I said, the fact that we get up and we brush our teeth every morning, that's what a ritual is. That is a ritualistic thing that we do every day. If people understood words for their definitions instead of correlating them with emotional stuff that they feel and they're familiar with, then people will respond differently. I am not responsible for another person taking the word ritual and thinking that I'm some like devil worshiper or something like that. What I do is I give my soul service daily. I have to, in order for me to activate my higher faculties so I can activate my self-mastery and intentionally create, right? Now, when we get up in the morning and we're like, oh, I'm going to brush my teeth, your intention is that you can clean your mouth and not smell when you speak to people. That's your intention. If you're just getting up and you're like, oh, I'm brushing my teeth just because I'm not even aware if I brush my teeth by 5 o'clock. You're like, yo, did I even brush my teeth? You're unintentional in your creations. You're not a great magician, to be honest. You're not aware. You're not self-aware. You're not putting yourself in an intentional space where you're going to say, you know what? This is what I'm doing because it's beneficial to me and to others. I have a clean mouth. I'm also not smelling people's faces up with my breath. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, because you want to use toothpaste and brushing your teeth as the example because everyone does it supposedly.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right, but that's a ritual. Now, whether or not after I brush my teeth, I decide to go sit and meditate by myself for 5 minutes, ritual. It's soul time for myself. This is something that I'm doing. I'm serving my soul. That's what you guys are doing. I'm activating my higher faculties when I meditate or whatever. And people, you know, we're going to have fears. We're going to have things. We're all conditioned like that. We live in a world that has strategic dark psychology built around the things they're selling us. So that way we can fear and buy it. All right, I'm going to shut up now.
And, you know, I would say that, you know, if somebody has it feels negative, if the word feels negative, that, you know, for me, it's about removing roadblocks. So if the word feels negative, it's not about changing the meaning of the word, it's about using another word, right? So if they don't like the word ritual, then use routine, use habit, ceremony, whatever it is that you do in the morning to feed your soul. Because, you know, we're used to feeding our minds with like social media and the news and what everybody else is doing. But we really have to be intentional with what we're feeding ourselves, feeding our soul, feeding our minds, feeding our bodies. And, you know, I call it, you know, more of a daily routine. And it's just a set of habits in the morning that gets you connected to your magic. So ritual, you know, I think it, you know, maybe is more about like, you know, or the meaning relates more to something religious, but you know, religion is not bad, and I'm not against religion. I just prefer spirituality because I feel like it doesn't have these it doesn't put me in a box. You know, I can connect with more people, and it's not exclusive, it's inclusive. And so whatever those set of habits you do in the morning to connect to your magic, to connect to your creativity, I think that's all that really matters, whatever that looks like for you. But there should be a set of routines in the morning, I think. Would you guys agree that it's
Absolutely.
different from when you didn't do it to now that you do it?
Oh, even on days that I say, you know what, I'll check my phone first. I already know what I'm setting myself up for, you know, and then some days when I have that conversation, I'm just like, Lisa, you know the risk. And if I take it anyway, I usually get burned, and then I know tomorrow not to do that. So, but every so often, after every couple weeks, I'm, you know, and then I'm just like, hold on, let me see if anyone sent me any nasty messages. And I haven't even gotten out of bed yet, you know? And then I'm like, oh, there it is. There's something I didn't want to deal with before I meditated. Okay, cool. So I think now that I meditate first, and at first, like all this stuff was taking so much time. And I'm just like, am I just giving my whole morning to feeling good? And now I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm giving as much time to feeling good as possible because it really sets the tone. I hate just feeling like I'm going out there and gambling, like, you know, whatever happens, whatever anyone throws at me. I'm like, I really like, and I had an example recently when I was at a festival, and I had some issues with like my badge, like that's like my accreditation where I can move about freely. And I said the night before, and I was like really shaky about it because I felt like I had gone to this place and I wasn't going to have what I needed in order to really enjoy and take part in this place that I'd already invested money to get to and all that. And I got up the next day and I did my meditation and I did my journaling. I put myself in this right state of mind. I had my headphones. I marched. I was like, no one will tell me nothing. I'm getting this. And and then everything just kind of worked out. And I know now when I put my energy, and that sometimes takes hours or a night before or whatever, but I know now once I I know how to get into it, you know, like how to get my body and my mind, but it's taken some time. But now I'm like, oh, I'm very excited with the results. And I also, lastly, I've realized that the more I do it, the more I get into alignment, the easier it becomes to kind of like slip in instead of like, you know? So, but yeah, it's powerful. And, you know, it's like, and it's not like, I realized like it's not necessarily like listening to something spiritual. Like for me, sometimes when I had to go do that, I think I played Jay-Z, and maybe I listened to some music from the Hamilton soundtrack. Like, you know, like it's just finding the things for you in that moment, and while you're trying to do whatever you need to do, that connects you to your power base, so that you can live and have the things that you want the way you
I love
want.
that. I feel like music is key. Music is key. I'm taking your word, Vanessa. Music is key.
And I gotta say, what you just expressed is intention. That's a higher faculty. You just expressed activating your intention. Your intention is, I don't, all right, I don't give a what the situation is. I'm doing it. Like even your energy, even just doing it, like replaying it, I felt it. So I can imagine, I felt your magic at
Thank you.
I felt it here. And I'm like hype, like, yeah, Lise, yeah, get it. Right. Because I know how you felt that moment. Like, yo, you know what? Yeah, it's not like I'm gonna listen to Kumbaya. We gotta listen to some Jay-Z because listen, that's intention. That's actually two. First, intention and imagination that you activate. My intention is important and your imagination, because now you're using like, yo, how am this is gonna be a bad day, or no, it's gonna be a good day. You imagined it and you bulldozered it. Like, yo, it's gonna be, that's what it's gonna be. My energy I'm putting today is, that's not an option. It's happening.
Right.
So that's beautiful and that's super powerful and super magical.
We saw it when you were at the Cannes Festival on the red carpet.
That's right. Thank you. Thank
You
you.
all the magic.
Thank you. My dress didn't get there till the day before. It was a lot of mess. But I've heard this before about like being able to do stuff more in your magic means you put less energy. You know, you do it more as like a magician. You make things instead of like, so I want to move because I feel like my life and growing up and where I grew up, it's all like, you know, you really got to put your back into getting things done. I want to really transition. And maybe that's something we could talk about. How do you move from that energy, from putting all this fire to really saying, you know, where you're just kind of like ordering off menu. I have that, I have that, I have that. And, you know, you can just be more calm.
I think I love that. And I love that you said that because it's the difference between pushing and allowing. You know, it's a difference between forcing and attracting. So that's exactly what you're talking about. I think we try to hustle every day to make shit happen instead of aligning with the things that give us our power. So, but I think I do want to talk about that a little bit more. I think that, you know, and that's a change for me. I used to hustle. And I just felt like, you know, if you ever see a duck on water and they just look like they're just gliding, but underneath they're like this, you know. I was like hustling and just tired and overworking and overwhelmed and overeating and overreacting. You know, and now my days are, I do what is most impactful for me. So I used to do a list of like 30 things. I need to do all these things. And not to say that somebody who does this differently means that they're hustling, you know, is bad. I don't mean that. I just mean for myself, I had to take it down and do the things that were really impactful so I could be more like a sharpshooter instead of just trying to shoot at everything. But go ahead.
I had to get me a fan, y'all. It's a sensory. This hat is felt. It's hot.
I'm hot too. I'm hot too.
All right. I have a great little thing to share with you guys about the transitioning of this. All right. Now, this might be advanced, but bear with. All right. How do we transition from that? How do we go from being pushed back or feeling like our back's against the wall and we're just like, It's the elements. Remember earlier when I said something about my elements and balancing all the elements that exist? This is the thing. We exist in these elemental things. The water, the fire, the earth, and what is the other one? Air. Those four elements represent four different faculties of behavior patterns or whatever. And each one of those has a duality. There's a higher version and a lower. Y'all know I've been saying this, and if y'all follow me personally, I talk about this, right? You have to balance each one of those things. The air is your intellectual self. How do you show up? How do you express yourself in the air element? Are you or, you know, aggressive, confrontational? Are you flighty, or you say one thing, behave another way? This is because your action, which is your fire element, is also out of balance. Do I show up as my full 100% self? Am I scared, fearful, don't want to show up, tell them I'm coming, I never show, whatever? The things I'm passionate about, am I aggressive about them? Where's the balance in these areas? You have your earth element. This is how I'm showing up physically. Am I lazy? Do I put the right things into my body? You know, where's the balance? Am I extreme in my physical? Am I limited or insufficient in my physical appearance, or the way I'm showing up, or the way life is occurring in the physical 3D material world. And then we have our water element, which is our emotions. Are my emotions balanced? When I'm having a conversation with someone, can I speak calmly, intellectually, passionately? These are all the elements, right? Without being, confrontational, aggressive, whatever it is, uncomfortable within myself, screaming, emotional, crying. This is the thing, the key to transitioning that level of self mastery, because that's self mastery, Lise. It's knowing how to balance each one of the elements. But you got to learn that the elements are your friends. You're created by them. The elements of your body, like that's where you're created from. And I'll leave it at that. But it's a key. Put it on your
Well,
key.
I would agree, and I would say the other way, I guess, to say that is to do what's most impactful for you. Because it would be hard. I think if somebody's taking your class and they understand what all that means, they can apply it to their personal lives. But I think if somebody who is not practicing this, don't meditate, don't do any of this, not that meditation is the one, thing that gets you to your magic, but it's a part of it, of connection, right? But if they don't know how to do that, they may need some more simple steps. And I think really it's about, like, you've got to decide if you're doing a lot to feel worthy, or you're doing a lot because it impacts your life and it makes you feel joyful. And I think that's the difference. I was doing a lot of hustling because I believed that that's what you were supposed to do. I was a business owner, had, multiple businesses. So, you have to work, there's a lot to be done. I had to make my employees work. So I had to work a lot. And now I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to work like that. I don't want my action to have to do a lot of action to determine how much money I'm getting or how much I'm getting back. So I want to do less and get more back. I want a higher ROI for my spiritual work.
Right. No,
But
no,
the other thing I wanted to ask you guys, because I think this is where people may have some struggle, is that, they may feel like I'm not magical, like, I don't know, Beyonce. I don't know who to choose, but there are a lot of really magical women that
you chose the right one.
Okay.
You chose the right one.
super magical.
Like, you can tell she is expressing her magic. She is creative all the time. She has got her hands in everything, and she has just learned to just access her magic. But somebody else might look at themselves and compare themselves and not feel like whatever they're doing is magical. And one, I want to say it has nothing to do with work. It's awesome, and it's amazing when you can match it to your work, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. And it doesn't mean that if this is something you love, say you love being a singer, but nobody's listening to your music, it doesn't mean you should give up. So I want to talk about that a little bit. What kind of advice would you give to someone who feels like there's a lot of things they want to be creatively engaged in, but they feel like nobody is interested in it?
I'll start off with that. We have countless amount of people in history that it wasn't until after they died that they became so successful. Most of the people that we admire in art, literature, architecture, they weren't even a big deal while they were alive, but they still did what they did because it brought them it connected them to their magic and to their calling, their purpose. So I think it's so important, even if you're not getting the attention or the validation from outside. Like, I can't even say that enough. And I keep saying it, but I'm not saying enough, even for me. So I know I'm not saying it enough for the world, but you really got to validate yourself. You really got to feel that gift, that passion, whatever it is that you're striving for, you have to justify the time and love you put in it, believing and knowing that that's enough. Like, it doesn't have to, because I used to have the mindset too, where, all right, I'm putting a certain amount of hours into something. Well, it has to come with some kind of reward. There has to be something to justify what I did. Maybe I just did it because it feels good, and I think that shift in my mind, sometimes I still think about it, I'm like, that might be the biggest shift I've ever made in my life. Like, knowing that if I want to do something, I could take my time. There's no rush saying, let me get good at this because it makes me feel good. Not because someone's going to say, oh, that's great. Add it to your resume, or that's great. You're going to get a higher pay rate. No, because it feels good to you, because it feeds you in some way. Let that be the reason. And maybe it will bring you more while you're alive or after you're dead, whoever, whenever, however, it doesn't matter. But just give yourself that permission to be that fuller person that you already know deep down that you are.
For me, I would say first, while we're creating, when you're creating art, you want to ask yourself, what is your intention behind creating? Right? Am I doing this so that way I can have a healthy way to express the things that I've experienced and share? Or there's certain artists that there's different kinds of mental creators who there's a group of personalities that they create and they're amazing and super talented, but they don't like to share it. Even people who are dark minded and dark spirited, their intention, if they're saying, well, I want to create and I want it so people could praise me, so my name could be on everything, so people could give me money, and that's kind of selfish. You know what I mean? And if you're doing it in order for people to praise you and you could feel like I created this, I'm better than, you have to check your intention. So intentional creating period starts here. And that's what you got to know why you're creating. So if you're worried about people not seeing it, you should really ask yourself, why am I creating? You know what I mean? Everyone has the right to create, and your intention powers what you create. A lot of people create problems. Like,
but you know, the thing that gets a little complicated there, though, is because a lot of people try to make their artists feed them. And it can be really hard sometimes if you're doing something that's for your passion, but you have to do it in a way that it's commercial, or that, that it's, financially viable. So it's really tricky. Like I know, like the Actors Union once said to us, I was at an event and they were like, you guys should all look at this as a professional hobby. And I remember feeling so insulted. I said, a professional hobby? What? I was like, that's absurd. You spend so much time and money and resources. Why would you use the word hobby? And then after I chilled out for a little while, I was just like, okay, I get it. Letting yourself believe, okay, this is going to happen freely. This is, if it happens the way it'll happen, but it doesn't have to feed you. And you can, what I'm saying? When you have that mentality that your artist can be free from this idea that it has to, okay, because that's when you start compromising. That's when you start doing stuff that you're not excited about. And that's when you're upset and you're angry. So it's finding ways that no matter how you budget your time, but you get to do the things that are creative for you and feel fulfilling without feeling like you got to sell out or whatever. You know what I'm saying? In order to eat, you got to figure out what's for you. And that's why we go back to the meditation. That's why we go back to the journaling and the rituals and all of that, because you start getting clear about who you are and what you can live with and can't live with. And more than that, but what makes you feel liberated and free.
I love that.
Yeah, that was so important, and it really resonates with me. When I used to rap, I was always really conscious about what was going on in the world and heartbreak, and I would love to rap about that. And whenever I sat at any type of labels or with anybody who was an executive, they would always tell me, this was the thing that I got a couple times: you say a lot. You say a lot. And I'm like, well, I'm keeping up with the beats, right? The BPM.
Dumb it down.
What they really wanted was for me to dumb it down. And whatever opportunities I was presented, they came with a compromise of myself and my mode. And it was like, although I love to be sexy and cute and everything like that, I'll look like a groupie on the video, no problem, because I'm hot, right? But I'm gonna this, that. And I would go into that and they'd be like, no, you got it wrong. You know what I'm saying? And what happened was it changed me. At first, my lifestyle was all in that street stuff. And as I started to, I would see like, oh, they want me to be this and act like I'm that. And now I'm influencing others to do this, because when they hear this, they're going to have that belief system trapped in them. And it really changed my life, to be honest. It was the uncomfortable and unhappiness about the way I felt like I needed to create in order for people to accept me and buy my music and listen to my music or whatever. I knew that the agenda in hip hop was more to push negative onto our culture. And once I woke up to that, it changed everything. And I was like, I'm not rapping no more. Like, and if I do, and when I do music, it's going to be solely for motivation and uplifting people. And I want to trap that magic into it. So what you just said is so important. And we live in a time frame where that's how the most handsomely paid people, creators, okay, that's what they're getting paid for. It's not just for their talent, it's for their influence. And just imagine what they're going through, right? This is a whole other episode.
I do want to hit upon what you mentioned. Like you said that there are people that this is their thing. They feel like this is what they want to bring to the world, and financially, it may not be, giving them the other side of it yet. But I think, a lot of times too, it's that you just have to make a decision that's right for you. I say, don't ever leave your creativity. I hear all kinds of stories of people like Steve Harvey and Talia Perry, and there are many people that say they were homeless. They were living, what's her name? Tiffany Haddish said they were living in their car because they were so passionate about what they were doing. They couldn't do anything else. But that's not everybody's path. It doesn't always have to be that way. And I think if we were used to expressing ourselves and expressing our creativity, that there's all these other paths that can open for us. But what happens is we think like it has to be this. Like, I know my money's coming. It's not gonna come necessarily from this podcast. but I wake up excited to do it, because in my heart, I just want to help people. I want to connect with people. I want to share my story, and I want to hope that I hope that whatever perspective that we're sharing, it changes somebody's perception of what was blocking them and open up an avenue for them. So I get up to, create this with you ladies, because not because it pays my bills, but because it fills me up. It fills my cup. So it makes all the other stuff palatable that I have to do, that maybe I don't always want to do. So I don't know if I even offered any advice. I would just say that don't lose hope. And just because it's not making you money doesn't mean that you're not magical at it, that it's not going to make you money later on. It doesn't mean any of that. It's really about, does it fill you up? Does it fill your cup to express this part of yourself? And that's the most important part.
I love that. I believe that there's a formula that comes with the success of you doing what you love. When what you do adds to others in a positive way, where they can also tap into that same creative force, then I believe you're really like that. That's where the reward is. That's like a part of the formula. It's like an ingredient. Like, you can make a cake and have all the ingredients except the flour, and all you got is like mush, right? But you need that flour. And I think when it comes down to us creating and it benefits other people just from that passion, I think that's a big part of the ingredient, like, for us to get successful.
Another great episode. So you have any parting words for people? So how to access your magic? First, you got to know that you're magical. So if you don't know that you're magical, you can't access anything that you don't feel like you have. I think also, listening to yourself, expressing your creativity, whatever that looks like. And it may come in the form of something really silly like roller skating or paint wine or whatever, but you should be creating. We are creators. So we should be creating. We should be creating, loving, and enjoying life. So I think also, you just have to express it. However that is, you got to find a way to express it. It doesn't have to look like anybody else. And most times when we hear something new, it wasn't because they imitated somebody else. It's because they had a different expression of it. So it could still be music, it could still be art, it could still be all these things, but you want to bring your authenticity to it.
Yeah, for me, I would say finding your balance and in your life, like Sherelle was saying, the things that really work well for you and make you feel like your best self. Those things are going to have a certain kind of energy that's going to carry you through. That's probably going to surprise you. Fear is often going to be it'll be there. It'll pop up and try to tell you that this isn't magical or you're not capable. And those things are just your lesser self afraid of the higher version of self, which is your creative self. So balance it out, work it out. You got this, and you're a creator. And that's just your birthright. Is whether you want to tap into it or not. Just tapping into it is a choice, but you have it for sure.
Love that.
Yeah, this giving your freedom more power than your fear, being available to explore and to not worry where it takes you, to feel power in that journey, in that experience is so exciting, and minimize discouragement. I think for me, when I decided I wanted to be an actor or something, I say it all the time. I was like, I have to minimize discouragement. I wouldn't even talk to people that I thought would tell me this is a bad idea. So the more you listen to yourself and shut the outside noise, the more you hear these messages of how you are enough. They get louder and louder. So trust in that and have fun.
Beautiful, ladies. Beautiful. And the last thing I'm going to say, because people are probably like, I thought this was a relationship podcast.
Relationship with self.
That's right.
It's relationship with self, but it also, when you are standing in your magic and in your power and your passion, you have better relationships with others because you're standing in your authenticity and you're standing in your power. So it does relate to relationships with other people that you have to work with family, with friends, with loving partners. So, it's part of our expression. So
besides our relationships with self and with others, when you're creating and when you're tapping into that and you're learning that and expanding that part, you are also really active in your relationship with your creator. That's probably one of the biggest relationships that we learn from.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies.
Hats off. Take a bow, ladies. Take a bow.
My joyful friends, that's our show. Thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe and leave a review. Share this episode with someone you think would get some value out of it. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Bye-bye now.